A shocking targeted murder in the streets of New York City. United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was in New York for a big investor meeting. The meeting was scheduled to begin at 8 a.m. at the Hilton Hotel. Thompson was staying across the street at another hotel. At 6:45, he left his lobby, crossed the street, and that's when the suspect approached him from behind, shooting him 3 times and killing him. Investigators say the killer traveled to New York from out of state and stayed at a hostel in New York City. From the hostel, he arrived at the scene just 5 minutes before Brian Thompson. The shooter then took off across the street, jumped onto a bike to escape. This prompted a massive manhunt by the NYPD, executing search warrants, trying to track down a killer. During the investigation, they uncovered these images of the suspect unmasked, then more images of the suspect with a mask in a cab fleeing the city. And now, a major development as a person of interest has been taken into custody in Altoona, Pennsylvania, spotted at a McDonald's. Who is this person of interest? What evidence do they have? And did he work alone? Tonight, all the latest in the United Healthcare CEO murder mystery. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments as we continue our coverage of a man, a CEO who was shot in cold blood. No other way to describe it. This was planned, this was plotted, this was targeted. This was someone who knew what they wanted to accomplish and accomplished it. Taking the life of a man by shooting him from behind, taking him by surprise. We don't necessarily know specifically why at this point. And I don't know how much investigators care about that at this moment as they've been spending time tracking down the suspect. And what they were looking for was a smiling person of interest. This was the moment. Really, we believe one of the only moments he unmasked himself in New York. And investigators were able to go through all the videos, track down this image, and this image becomes crucial. Absolutely crucial in capturing this suspect. And he was caught today. Caught at McDonald's. McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Like, that's where he was. That's where he was caught. Now, how he got there, what he was doing in that town, I don't know if we know the answer to that yet, but the most important part of this for law enforcement immediately was to track down the suspect, track down the person they believe is the killer. Now, they're calling him a person of interest, but he's in custody already. He's not going anywhere. And chances are he may never go anywhere ever again as a free man. So the question everyone's asking now is, well, who is he? Who is this guy? What's his story? What's his background? And then all of that has to do with why would he shoot a man in cold blood and take his life? We got some information today from the New York Police Department, held a press conference announcing the arrest of the suspect. Let's take a look.
Earlier this morning in Altoona, Pennsylvania, members of the Altoona Police Department arrested Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old male, on firearms charges. At this time, he is believed to be our person of interest in the brazen targeted murder of Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare, last Wednesday in Midtown Manhattan. The suspect was in a McDonald's and was recognized by an employee who then called local police. Responding officers questioned the suspect, who was acting suspiciously and was carrying multiple fraudulent IDs as well as a U.S. passport.
As the commissioner stated earlier, a male was taken into custody today in Altoona, Pennsylvania this morning. He has been identified as Luigi Nicholas Mangione. He's a male, 26 years old. He was born and raised in Maryland. We know he has ties to San Francisco, California, and his last known address was Honolulu, Hawaii. He has no prior arrest history in New York. Members of the NYPD Detective Bureau are currently traveling to Pennsylvania with members of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office to interview this subject.
Was his name on your radar? Was he someone who you had been looking into before his arrest?
No, we did not have his name prior to today.
Will the suspects be brought back to New York and charged here, and when?
We're going to have to work that out with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office in Altoona, Pennsylvania. He's going to be facing gun charges there, and at some point we'll work out through extradition to bring him back to New York to face charges here, working with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office.
The bottom line, there's a lot of strange facts that maybe a lot of us weren't necessarily expecting connected to this man and connected to the investigation. Like the first one, they had his image for days, yet they didn't know his name. Like no one came forward to say, hey, that was my college roommate, or that's my nephew, or that's the guy I used to live next door to, or that's the guy who comes into my shop for his Starbucks all the time. Nobody. Apparently they didn't give the name to the NYPD. People didn't recognize him. You know who recognized him? Someone in McDonald's. Wow. Joining me here in studio tonight, she was all over New York last week tracking the suspects' movements. Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft. Kelly, great to see you. Thanks for joining us. What a big day. Luigi, by the way, is his name. Luigi Mangione was just arraigned in Pennsylvania. What do we know?
A lot, and this moved so quickly, Vinnie. 9:15 this morning, so that is when authorities received the call and then went to the McDonald and began questioning him. And tonight, they just had the arraignment. It just wrapped up a short time ago. We were monitoring that arraignment there in Pennsylvania. So the charges, forgery, tampering with records or identification, possessing instruments of a crime, false identification to law enforcement. And so now we also have this mugshot. This is courtesy of Fox News Digital. So getting a lot of information here, but Vinnie moving so quickly here with getting him arraigned, making sure they're getting all this taken care of because they believe this is the guy that shot and killed Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare.
Yeah, I don't think he expected to get caught. You're going to McDonald's. Like, if you are really worried, you're going to hang a little bit lower. So tell us about that arrest at McDonald's.
Yeah, Vinnie, and I didn't know. I was wondering the same thing, but then I thought maybe he wanted to get caught. I have no idea. So the officers came in, the McDonald's employee notices him, feels that there's a man in there that looks a little bit suspicious, calls the authorities. The authorities come and begin questioning him, and the words are that when they started asking him some questions about New York, he got really nervous. And so then he kind of knew, okay, this is it. I'm going to be caught now. And we've learned so much about him, Vinnie. You and I were talking about it, and his background. The family, prominent family from Baltimore, his family owned a country club there. He was valedictorian of his high school, his prep school. This is one of the most elite schools in Baltimore. So this isn't just an average kid that grew up without much. He grew up a privileged, it appears, privileged young man.
He had everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good-looking kid, incredibly smart, educated. What am I leaving out here? Smart, educated, good looking. Oh, rich. Also, at least his family has wealth. Comes from a family with wealth. And that's the road to going to the prep school, going to the Ivy League school, forging a career. And it seemed like he had a nice career going as well. Yeah. I mean, he was valedictorian in high school, but did well at post-grad work also. So they arrest him at a McDonald's. What sort of evidence or what things did they find connected to him? What did he have with him?
Authorities talked about this in the news conference, and one of the main things that he had with him was a gun that they believe was used in the killing of Brian Thompson. He also had a 3-page document with him as well, which some experts have been released excerpts saying things like parasites and I'm against this healthcare industry and corporate America. Why don't we go ahead and listen to a bit of the information from the news conference talking about what they found on him.
Upon further investigation, officers recovered a firearm on his person, as well as a suppressor, both consistent with the weapon used in the murder. They also recovered clothing, including a mask consistent with those worn by our wanted individual. Also recovered was a fraudulent New Jersey ID, matching the ID our suspect used to check into his New York City hostel before the shooting incident. Additionally, officers recovered a handwritten document that speaks to both his motivation and mindset.
We don't think that there's any specific threats to other people mentioned in that document, but it does seem that he has some ill will toward corporate America. Right now, the information we're getting from Altoona is that the gun appears to be a ghost gun, may have been made on a 3D printer, the capability of firing a 9mm round. Obviously, that will come out during our ballistics testing.
Authorities today also talked about the arrest. Let's go ahead and listen to that.
This morning at approximately 9:14 a.m., Altoona police officers received a call of a suspicious male at a local restaurant. It was reported that the male matched the description of the United Healthcare murder in New York City. When officers arrived, they made contact with the male who had a face mask on. That male was asked to remove his face mask, and officers immediately recognized him as a suspect in the New York City shooting in recent days. That male was asked for a form of identification. He then provided a fake identification card out of New Jersey. After a brief investigation, it was determined that the ID provided was in fact a fake ID, and he was subsequently arrested for a forgery charge.
And Vinnie, you know, we also have learned that they believe that he was acting alone. When we were out there in New York, we would talk about this. He was on the cell phone in one of the surveillance videos, and we thought, okay, could he have an accomplice? But according to authorities, they believe he is acting alone.
And what's interesting, like, could he pull this off by himself, right? He's obviously not a career criminal, but super smart. And an engineer. So you put all these little pieces together, and if you're really focused on a task, and that looks like who he is, right? When he's focused on physical fitness, he's got washboard abs and muscles, right? When he's focused on school, he's valedictorian. He's getting his degree. And if his focus became taking out this CEO, I could see him looking at it as a task, like sort of the same thing. Like whatever he wants to do, he tries to accomplish. The thing he didn't figure out was, though, how to escape, because so many mistakes.
Right. In one of those images, we just had up that spinal cord, and so it appears that he had some sort of injury there. And so when you take a look at a lot of the social media responses, they're talking about my fellow person who also had a spinal cord injury. And so he had that there on his account. So that's kind of an interesting piece of this whole puzzle, too. Right.
And again, you're trying to figure out how someone who's rich, comes from like family wealth, a grandfather who built an empire, how on earth does he go from that to this? There could have been a problem with an insurance company, but it seems like the family may have had the money to overcome that, right? Exactly. That doesn't make sense to me. Kelly Craft, awesome as usual. Thank you so much. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Al Wunsch III. Also joining us, criminal defense attorney Darnell Crossland and family law attorney Jennifer Brandt. Great to see everyone tonight. Big, big day. All right, there's a lot of different directions we can go with what we're learning right now, but I want to start with the evidence first, Al. And I look at what was obtained at his arrest. Seems like it's going to be a big part of connecting him to everything, like not ditching stuff. The gun, the suppressor, the mask, the ID, and then, of course, he's got his motive literally in his pocket in this written so-called manifesto against corporate America. How about that, Al?
And from the beginning, I've told you when we've discussed this case, you and I, that this man has left so many breadcrumbs that led right to him. Everything he's done was a mistake. As smart as he was, he's also extremely foolish. Right from the beginning, the way everything was set up, he had too many mistakes that I knew it would just be a matter of time before he got, caught. And having all of that information, having that illegal gun on him, having the phony ID, you would think that the first thing you would do is ditch the phony ID. okay, which he did not do. He had it on him. In fact, he used it to try to get the cops off of his tail. So, you know, this is not as smart as he is. And Gilman is a beautiful school. I've been to it because we play football against them every year, Don Bosco, and also lacrosse. They're an excellent athletic school, excellent academic school, absolutely gorgeous campus. And this man was valedictorian. But you know what? As smart as he was pretty dumb.
Yeah. Darnell, I want you to take a listen to the officer, one of the officers who made the arrest, who's actually a rookie.
I want to say a special thanks to Officer Tyler Fry of the Altoona Police Department. Officer Fry is about 6 months into his time serving his fellow people here in Pennsylvania, and he acted swiftly, he acted with smarts, and he acted with calm. You know, safety often turns on the strength of the relationship between the community and law enforcement. We have that strong relationship here in Altoona, and it was proven here today.
Okay, well, the officer did speak after the governor spoke. Darnell, your thoughts here. This case, what will it be about? It's not going to be about who done it, right? The defense attorney who jumps in, who I'm sure is going to be a highly paid defense attorney, is not going to try to convince the world that somebody else did this. What's the play here for the defense?
Well, a couple of things. One, I'll start off by just breaking down the fact that philosophically, I disagree with the notion that Al discussed with you, which is that this guy made a lot of mistakes and that he was bound to get caught. In fact, from the minute this case started, I said this guy is exactly what you said he is. He's smart. He's an engineer. He does everything for a reason. And I knew that he wanted to leave some kind of trail. I knew that he was going to take that manifesto and maybe talk about it, write about it. It seemed like he wanted to make that his point. And so I feel that he wanted to get caught. Now, in terms of what this case is going to turn on, a lot of what you're seeing in social media, just like you said with Julie in the beginning, is going to be about this idea of, to me, jury nullification. A lot of people didn't call, as you said, and say, that's my neighbor, that's my friend. Why? Because there's a split where there's so many people who feel that the healthcare administration has taken advantage of them. If you look at social media, a lot of people were saying, we don't know where he is, sorry, out of network. And it was making a lot of these quips to say that don't call for help now when you guys never helped us. So when you look at that, I think we know who did this, but the idea here is that the jury is going to be probably split with those people who have suffered, have family members who suffered. The meeting, for Christ's sake, that Thompson was heading to, it continued, I'm told. They didn't even stop. So they're looking at a cold, callous company or industry, and people are going to be really upset about this, and they are upset. So they're going to be a split, and I'm sure the defense attorneys are going to play towards that in some way.
Jennifer Brandt, what's your reaction tonight? I'm just shocked. This young man had everything handed to him at birth.
Yeah, Vinnie, you know, maybe there's something wrong. I mean, we haven't talked about his mental state. I mean, clearly he had everything at birth, every advantage, wealth, a great education, good-looking kid. I mean, seemed like he had everything in the world going for him. But then he writes this sort of wacky manifesto. And while, as Darnell pointed out, that, yeah, maybe some people agree, I think we all can agree that it's a bit off the wall, and that coupled with an egregious crime, shooting a man down in cold blood on the street, shooting him in the back, watching him struggle, shooting him again. I mean, this is a cold-blooded killer who, you know, whoever did that, whether it's this man or another. But I think we have to talk about his mental state. I mean, clearly something is not right there. With all the intelligence that he had, something was wrong. Anyone who could go and do something like this to another person, there's got to be something going on there. So maybe that'll be the focus of the defense.
Well, I'll tell you, it's going to be the focus of our next segment, because we're going to go inside the mind of the suspect, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates two scandals that have rocked a small eastern Kentucky community. A judge's bailiff arrested for assaulting women in the judge's chambers after hours. Then, that same judge in the same chambers shot and killed by the local sheriff. Are these scandals connected? We investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
It's the biggest story that we're covering.
He is the boogeyman.
Lori Daybell.
She said, I will have you destroyed.
She's got another murder trial coming up.
A social media sensation, now a suspected killer. Vana.
As soon as he was wearing a blue medical mask. As soon as we pulled that down, or we asked him to pull it down, me and my partner and I recognized him immediately, just from what we saw in the media with photos, videos. We just didn't even think twice about it. We knew that was our guy.
That's the rookie officer, 6 months on the job, takes down the most prominent and most wanted, maybe not the highest most wanted, but the most prominent fugitive from justice inside of a McDonald's. Let me just go through a little bit about Luigi Mangione, the 26-year-old who was arrested. Attended prestigious Gilman High School. $40,000 a year to go to that school. Valedictorian, played soccer, went to the University of Pennsylvania, a Bachelor of Science in Engineering, a concentration in artificial intelligence, minor in math, graduated cum laude, member of a social fraternity, received a Master's of Science of Engineering, and founded Penn's first video game research development club, although the University of Pennsylvania has subsequently scrubbed that from their website. Works right now at TrueCar, or used to work at TrueCar Inc. as a data engineer, has been promoted twice in just 4 years there. And then his background comes from a prominent Maryland family. Grandfather, Nicholas Mangione, successful real estate developer, died in 2008. Luigi is one of 37 grandchildren. His grandfather owned 2 country clubs and resorts. His cousin Nino is a Maryland state legislature. His grandfather had 10 children, big family. So you've got all that. And now this is the man. So joining me to talk about it, clinical and forensic psychologist, researcher, expert on violent crime, and author of The New Evil, Dr. Gary Brucato. And Dr. Gary, I want to also throw in, we showed the image of this guy. This is a guy who's into physical fitness. I mean, as fit as you could be, muscular, ripped, all of that. So putting that all in the mix, Dr. Brucato, how do we get from there to where he allegedly has ended up as a cold-blooded killer of a CEO of United Healthcare?
Well, first of all, it's important to bear in mind that we have minimal information right now to begin to understand what may be going on, and this, of course, is a suspect. But that having been said, I think it's important to understand that the type of offender who becomes interested in playing out some kind of grudge, we have to remember that underneath that mission, that there's a sort of narcissism that's actually at the center. You wind up with a person who has the look of being mission-oriented and doing something altruistic in some strange way, but is actually interested in this self-aggrandizement and drawing attention to the self. And of course, we see that in the arc of what happened in the story here, that he goes from, having the mask on, pulling the mask down because he needs to flirt. And here, of course, we have the revelation of what's really at the center of this, that need for praise and being looked at. And of course, it was that need that led to being all over the television and all over the newspaper, so that you have him caught by people who know what he looks like. And of course, you have the public divided, as you always do with narcissistic individuals, where the public is split up. Half of them think he's the most fascinating, gorgeous creature they've ever seen, and other people are looking at him thinking, this is no hero, this is a nobody. And so I think it's important to understand the center of this is not that incompatible with a privileged individual who is used to being the best at everything. But there is a kind of emptiness that can come with that. In many ways, he's a metaphor for American life. Underneath all of the money and underneath all of the power and underneath everything else, there's a vapid, empty core, a narcissistic emptiness, and you fill it with meaning. And here, I think the meaning was pseudo-philosophical.
How does someone... Does something have to happen to get to this point, you know, where you pick whatever your issue is? Because he allegedly had a 3-page document railing against corporate America and, you know, sort of his manifesto. Do you suspect in a case like this there could be like an event in his life, or is it something that gradually builds? Does he get into some sort of bubble where he gets focused on this somehow, some way? What are your thoughts about how someone could go from, you know, becoming an adult, having an adult job, doing well in your job, to focusing on something completely different?
Right. Well, you know, sometimes an individual who experiences a setback, personal setback, let's say in this case, could be something related to health, could be a loved one who was denied claims. It could be, you know, something, you know, a sick relative who struggled with insurance companies. Could be something like that. But the idea is you're dealing with a person who probably never really got no for an answer in anything, was able to get whatever he wanted. And then you wind up coming up against something that is basically saying no to you, or saying no to other people, and you're going to resent them. My sense is that this is an individual with some kind of a grudge, but underneath it, we're going to discover that what was really playing out here is some kind of manifestation of something going on in family life or in personal identity, or kind of person that emblematizes power and give you what you want, that kind of thing. And it gets played out in this way to give it of something noble. But I suspect we're going to discover as the facts unfold that it's a much smaller drama being played out by an arrogant person.
And
pseudo-philosophical. Yeah.
Let's talk about mental illness. How would you, or how is, because my guess is there's going to be some evaluation at some point, I would think, perhaps by the defense or someone associated with this case. How do you go about, if you're trying to determine if he's suffering from some delusional thoughts or some level of mental illness, maybe not as a defense, maybe as some mitigating factor in all of this, how do you distinguish between the narcissism and that what you've been talking about and legitimate mental illness?
Well, first of all, the kind of serious mental illness that one would be talking about to make one unaware of the difference between right and wrong or so forth would make this individual profoundly disorganized in a way that we didn't see here. You would have a history consistent with becoming ill in adolescence or young adulthood that would be present in the past. You would see symptoms like disorganization, potentially hallucinations, odd ideas, things like that. That is all going to have to be borne out, you know, as time goes on. But superficially speaking, suggestive of something that's rooted in grievance, personal, something where one is interested in drawing attention to the self, being kind of higher than other people, you know, and you had a life trajectory that is more associated with a person who, you know, who is not struggling with life because disorganizing mental illness. But it is impossible to say that without. They may, for example, have been the kind of thing where somebody feels empty and depressed, or somebody feels the need to do something higher than the self, or the person has some kind of paranoia. That's all going to have to be borne out. But I think there isn't anything so far that's suggestive of somebody who didn't know the difference between right and wrong that would be necessary for a defense to explain away this pretty methodical, if not occasionally boneheaded thing that he did or is accused of doing.
Dr. Gary Brucato, always great to have you on. Incredible insight. Thank you so much. Let's bring back in our think tank, still with us, Al Wunsch, Darnell Crossland, and Jennifer Brandt. All right, Darnell, do you think some sort of mental expert might be needed by the defense here? Maybe not as a complete defense, but to mitigate his mental state at the time that he's allegedly doing all these things?
No, not at all. And it really feels good that the doctor was picking up what I was putting down in the first segment. And when he says that he's a narcissist and he wanted to be seen and he smiled, that's exactly what I was trying to elaborate on. It looked like, unlike trying to get away, he wanted to be seen. Like he wanted somebody to give him a stage. He wanted to talk about this. So I was glad the doctor was picking up what I was putting down there. In terms of the mental state, I respect Jennifer's position. In a lot of these cases, we go straight to that as a plea or some type of a cop-out. But I don't think that we should do that all the time. This guy was not, as the doctor said, showing signs of disorganization or hallucination. He was very well put together. And just because you kill somebody in this way, it might be unacceptable to us, but that doesn't make you crazy. He wanted to do that. And he had his reasons. Now, the questions are, what was his reasons? And whether, in fact, those reasons may offer him some kind of mitigation. If they take it to trial, if the jury's split, as the doctor also stated, because some people look at him as a hero, then we might have a hung jury situation. Who knows? But I don't think we just go straight to the mental health issue always. I don't see the facts supporting that here.
Yeah, but I mean, all the facts point to him being the person doing this, all the allegations so far. And I always wonder, where's the defense going to go? Jennifer Brandt, has a sane person ever written a manifesto?
I'm sure, Vinnie. I'm sure there are many sane people that write manifestos, but they don't always act upon them. They don't always kill somebody else. So, I mean, I get Darnell's point that we are dissatisfied with what he's doing. Yes, we are as a society. We don't think that that's right. So he can write all the manifestos that he wishes to write, but when you start killing people in cold blood, whether you disagree with their position or their job or what they're doing or not, you just can't do that. It's not acceptable. So I think that's the problem there. It's not so much just the manifesto.
Al, do you think this is going to be, what is this all going to be about? Like, the evidence is the evidence. It seems overwhelming. I know everything has to be tested and scrutinized, but the videos, the surveillance, and what he's caught with, so overwhelming. Then you try to figure out what's going on in his mind, and he's carrying with him a 3-page manifesto railing against corporate America.
Well, it all lends to what I said about the fact that he did everything humanly possible to get caught. And everything that he did wrong in this case led him to get caught where he did. He left DNA. He gave himself opportunity to be photographed as many times as he did. He did the shooting in such a way that didn't scare people, so people are watching where he's going. There's a bunch of things that he did wrong for a person who's supposedly as smart as he is. That knowing that there are cameras around, especially a guy who's into IT, knowing an AI, knowing that there are cameras everywhere you go, and to pull that mask down and have those photographs taken like that. He's done everything humanly possible to get caught. Now, the interesting thing is this. Now, there have been people who've written manifestos that are not necessarily insane. I mean, Karl Marx wrote, the Communist Manifesto. But you've got a situation here where I think he wanted to be caught. I think eventually he wanted to be caught because it's the only way you can get a manifesto out there. I mean, when Hitler wrote his manifesto, it was when he was in prison and came out of prison, okay? And then he made his cause known. That's what this man needs. He needs an opportunity, just like the doctor was saying, that he needs an opportunity to be able to put forth his manifesto. And to have all that information on him, once again, designs, as far as I'm concerned, that he wanted to get caught, and he's going to have this opportunity to get his soapbox and stand up there. And
okay, let me do this before we run out of time, because we're going to run out of time with you guys. 10 seconds each. Do you expect him to take that opportunity, perhaps at a trial, to tell the world why he did this? Darnell.
Firstly, I'm glad that Al is picking up what I'm putting down. And I do think that he's going to, like the guy in, I forget, the professor, the case that we're studying, he's going to speak at trial.
How about you, Jennifer Brandt?
Absolutely, 100%. I agree that he's going to want to get that out there. That's why he wrote it, and that's why he did what he did.
All right, and Al, 10 seconds.
From the arraignment forward, he'll be doing nothing but pontificating.
Great job by our think tank tonight. Al Wunsch, Darnell Crosslane, Jennifer Brandt, thank you so much. When we come back, we are going to take a closer look at the so-called ghost gun used in the shooting, or alleged to have been used in the shooting. Bringing in an expert. That's next.
Greater.
Ghost guns. We have really talked about this since the beginning of the administration. They could be made on a 3D printer, and they are extremely dangerous, and we must do more on the federal level to clamp down on the availability of ghost guns.
Ghost guns. At the press conference today, there you heard from the mayor of New York, but the detective also said he believed that this was a ghost gun that was done on a 3D printer. So how does that work? What does that mean? We have a gun expert joining us right here, right now, former law enforcement officer, military veteran who's been a gun instructor for more than a decade. Mario Camposano joins us. Mario, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Explain to us, what do you mean by a ghost gun made by a 3D printer? How exactly does that work?
Thank you, Vinnie, for having me on. So I'll get into the brass tacks of it. How did the term ghost gun become about? Basically, anti-gun activist group decided to name it because it does not have a serial number, meaning that it is an undocumented item or an undocumented firearm. So to answer your question about the 3D printer, there's a lot of schematics and plans out there to basically print anything today, from keychains to gun magazines to actual lowers on firearms. And in this case, a ghost gun would be a pistol or a rifle that has a lower that does not have a serial number transcribed from it, from either a manufacturer or an individual who decides to build their own firearm and put a request into the ATF to have a serial number assigned to it. So the 3D printers today, the technology is just amazing at what you can print out of them.
Okay, and when you're saying it's printed, right, that's weird, right? We think of a printer paper. We're printing a gun. So what's it made of? Is it, and what are the, how much different is it from a gun that isn't printed, right? A gun that's manufactured by a gun manufacturer versus one that you print. Can you put a suppressor on it? Can you put 9mm ammo in it? Can you get through TSA with it? Is it different? Is it made from metal? How does all that work?
So the bottom part of the firearm, and I will show you an actual real serialized frame or bottom of a pistol. This is a Glock 19 frame. This is what it would look like if it actually came out of the printer, right? But no serial number, because serial numbers are found at the bottom of the pistol here on the muzzle side, right? So the material that's used to print these in a 3D printer, they've come a long way where they're a very high durable polymer. The pistol itself does not use the bottom piece to fire the projectile. Projectile goes through the barrel. The barrel and the slide are both made out of metal, right? This is an unloaded top part of a firearm for the Glock. As you can see, there's a serial number on the barrel here and on the frame here, right? So Glock does this in order to avoid people from pulling it apart and selling it off in pieces, right? So the barrel is what's taking the brunt of the abuse, the fire, et cetera, when you're pulling the trigger to deploy the projectile. So the frame, as long as it's a durable plastic frame that you can connect a properly fit slide and barrel to, then you have a working and functional firearm.
Okay, so how could this suspect do this? Do you have to own the printer yourself?
Yes.
You do. How expensive are they? How involved are they?
I've seen 3D printers as cheap as $300 to $400, and I've seen them as elaborate in the thousands of dollars.
Okay, so that's relatively cheap. It's not tens of thousands. Let me ask you this. You mentioned that the barrel is made of something else. So the barrel is not printed? You have to get that somewhere else?
Yes, you do. And the barrel can be bought through aftermarket companies. So this is going to be the barrel of the Glock pistol right here, right? And I can actually buy a barrel like this to fit a Glock through an aftermarket company. Glock.com and a few other, Glockstore.com, will sell these barrels. Wolf makes them, a bunch of different manufacturers make them that will fit a gun. It's just like buying an aftermarket car part, right? I don't buy a GM battery, I buy a DC or Delco, AC Delco battery. So there's a lot of manufacturers out there who make the pieces and the components to actually build a firearm.
All right, they mentioned that he's supposed to be from Hawaii. Can you get this 3D printed gun and barrel through TSA without any problems? Or is it something that he would have had to done here in the upper 48 states?
Probably they've done in the upper 48 states because, you know, TSA has very strict policies about checking items through. I mean, I've gone through TSA with a scope to bring to a friend down in a different state, right? And they actually do inspect to see what's inside the case. But from a TSA perspective, anything that resembles, looks, feels like a firearm needs to be checked in, tagged, locked, and done through a different spot other than going through regular security check.
All right, and 3D printers, do retail stores have them, or do you need to get that sent to you through the mail?
Any store that's an electronic store should have 3D printers available.
But the barrel, you said, can you go to a gun store to get the barrel part?
They may have parts as well, yes, in gun stores, absolutely. It's not something you holistically will buy online. You can go to, it may be a specialty shop, but you know, most stores will carry pieces and parts for firearms.
Mario Campesano, great to have you on the program. Great information. I knew nothing, as you could tell, but now I know a lot more, and so the folks who are watching. Appreciate it. All right, folks, we got a lot more to get to, including something else you need to know tonight.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Coming up next, only on Court TV.
A mystery in the Deep South.
An Ole Miss student goes missing. Now a graduate stands trial for his murder.
We'll take you inside the case that shocked the college community.
The missing student murder trial. Live coverage weekday mornings on Court TV.
First Order.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight on this big news Monday. Daniel Penny in the Subway chokehold trial, not guilty. Set free by the jury. The people of the jury spoke, disagreeing with the district attorney, saying the DA, with the district attorney saying Daniel Penny's a hero, not a villain. Afterwards, though, people getting arrested, protesting the verdict. People getting arrested. In the moment that it all happened inside the courtroom, there was applause and anger, an eruption after this verdict. And Neely's father, Jordan Neely's father, the man who died, got upset and got escorted out of the courtroom, but spoke to the media following the not guilty verdict. ABC News posted the video to YouTube.
I just want to say, I miss my son. My son didn't have to go through this. I didn't have to go through this either. It hurts. Really, really hurts. What are we gonna do, people? What's gonna happen to us now? I had enough of this. The system is rigged.
All right, the father obviously not happy with the not guilty verdict. Did he intend to kill him? Did they prove that he intended to kill him? No. Did they prove that he was reckless in killing him? Did they prove that he was negligent in killing him? No. So he is a free man, and there is a civil suit that's pending, so we'll keep an eye on that for you as well. What I need you to keep an eye out for right now is a missing child, Haley Rhodes. There she is, just 16 years old, missing out of Peoria, Illinois, since December the 5th. Here's what you can do. If you see Haley, pick up the phone, make a call, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Peoria Police Department in Illinois. That number is on the screen right now. Don't go anywhere. We've got another hour of live true crime straight ahead. We're going to talk about the case out of Kentucky involving the sheriff and the judge. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.